My name is Julia Hoyes, and I'll be doing a presentation entitled Beauty and the Beast and an Analysis from Freudian and Jungian Perspectives. Many different versions of this story, but I focus on the 1991 classic from Disney. Overview of Freud's psychoanalytic theory. So Freud's main premise is that unconscious forces are what drive human behavior. These forces stem from childhood experiences and influence later life. There's 3 levels of consciousness. The unconscious is what we're not aware of and what's most important. The conscious is what we're aware of, and the pre-conscious is what we're not aware of but can be made available. So there's 3 sections of the personality. The id, which is the most primitive and is kind of like the child. It asks you to automatically seek gratification and asks you more to be selfish. The superego, which is the moral and societal restrictions, and the ego, which is the most advanced of the 3 in what a healthy individual should be expressing the most. Psychosexual stages. The oral stage, the anal stage, the phallic stage, the libido stage, and the genital stage, but I'll go more in depth with that later on. Bell demonstrates a healthy relationship between the 3 sections of her personality, expressing ego the most. And we can see this in the fact that she puts others' needs and wants before her own. She's very selfless, which means that she's very grown in her ways of thinking. And we see this when she takes the place of her father in the Beast Castle. Demonstrates a masculinity complex. Freud believed as children having this castration anxiety. For women, because we lack a penis, they see themselves as inferior. There's 3 resolutions to this, one of which is the masculinity complex. So a masculinity complex is basically when women strive for men's achievements, or like achievements that they can't do because of the gender norms of their day. So Belle, she didn't want to marry Gaston. She rejected the role of becoming a wife and a mother, and she wishes for adventure, to go off and explore, which is quite different from the women of her time. The animated objects as symptoms of psychosis. So because Belle cannot cope with the fact that she's so isolated and cut off from the world, she creates these imaginary friends to keep her company. I saw the Beast as going through all of Freud's psychosexual stages throughout the story. So with the oral stage. So he demonstrates oral fixation with the fact that he's very passive about his fate because he resigns himself to thinking that no one will ever love him because of his appearance. He's very dependent on his servants to do everything for him, like to cook for him, to clean for him, and to maintain his castle. And he becomes very depressed because of his pessimism about the future. So there's outcomes of the oral stage was either optimism or pessimism, and with him he has pessimism. So he goes to the anal stage when he's reluctant to share his castle with Belle's father, and he's very stubborn about his actions. So with an anal character, they become fixated on hoarding their material. So with the Beast, he kind of hoards his castle. He keeps it to himself. He doesn't want to share it with anybody. He goes to the phallic stage when he demonstrates an Oedipus complex with his love for Belle. So I saw the Beast as developing feelings for Belle because she acts very maternal toward him. We don't know the origins of the Beast. We don't really know anything about his parental figures. So because Belle teaches him how to be civilized, how to be kind, how to eat with utensils and stuff like that. That's why he develops feelings toward her. And he becomes very jealous of the fact that Belle wants to leave to go with her father. And I saw it as because he wants her all to himself. He's very selfish with the love, which is very common with the Oedipus complex because the young child wants the mother's love all to himself. So in the latency stage, this is a period of time in the children's life where there's kind of no conflict within themselves, and it's just a period of kind of growth. So this is where I saw in the story when him and Belle have no conflict with each other, where they're kind of learning about each other, and he slowly starts to grow and develop more adult ways of thinking. So in the genital stage, which is basically the onset of puberty for a regular child, this is when he develops and realizes his adult feelings for Belle. So they're no longer this selfish love that was in the phallic stage. It's more selfless because he puts Belle's needs and wants before his own and lets her go back home to her father. And just like Belle, the Beast shows symptoms of psychosis with the fact that these ordinary objects are brought to life, and the fact that he's isolated himself for so long because he's so ashamed of his appearance. he like creates these characters in his head to keep him company. So just a brief overview of Jung before we go on to like the next analysis. The main purpose is the collective unconscious, which is basically this inherent conscious. So every person has it. It doesn't matter where you are in the world, like what culture you are, it's universal. It's in the brain and it's not subjected to our own personal experience. It's the same for everybody. So a part of this are these things known as archetypes. So archetype is basically this kind of like innate image or pattern that kind of like influences our experience of the real world. So it's kind of like these psychic instincts which kind of tell us how to see certain people, like as like to see what role they have. I saw the beast as representing the hero archetype and the shadow archetype at the same time. So the hero archetype is basically, we don't really know the origins of him. Like we don't really know about his parents or like what happened at the time of his birth. The hero is different from everybody else, and they go off onto like this adventure and they battle great like monsters, and they come back to their town after going through this whole transformation where they kind of like realize who they are and they come to terms with their own like identity. So this actually fit the piece perfectly with the fact that like we don't really know we don't know anything about his parents. We know the fact that he was like raised by his servants, and the beast struggles with his identity, with the fact that like he doesn't know if he thinks that he's an unlovable monster, or is he actually this like young prince, this like handsome young prince. The beast also like overcomes his enemies, and these enemies are like Gaston, which is like the male protagonist, and he overcomes him, by like throwing him off the roof. And he also overcomes the enemy of himself. Actually, the shadow archetype is the fact that he has to overcome the enemy of himself. Like this horrible like monster is actually like a manifestation of his qualities. So it's the dark side of his psyche, and he has to overcome it. Like he has to grow. Like he has to become selfless and kind and merciful in order to overcome this like dark monster. So the transformation at the end of the movie, when Belle confesses her love for him and he transforms into this like handsome prince, is what signals him winning the internal battle of himself with his identity. Confessed her love for him, he realized that he actually does have worth, and he can overcome these like horrible qualities of himself.